Hello and welcome back. Thanks for joining. My name is Berit and today I want to talk about A Bond Undone, part 2 of the Legends of the Condor Heroes series. Since this is part 2, a fair spoiler warning for this book, A Hero Born, which is part 1 of the Legends of the Condor Heroes. So if you haven't read this one and or if you care for spoilers, please skip this video so that I don't take away any of the fun that you will have reading this book. So part 2, A Bond Undone, starts pretty much exactly where part 1 ended, because we remember A Hero Born ends in the middle of the plot, you can almost say in the middle of a scene. So in this part we start in the middle of the chaos that is going on at the palace of Wanyan Hongli, the prince of the Jin Empire. So what is the situation? Guo Jing is at the palace searching for herbs for Wang Chuyi, a martial master who he met in the first book and who has been poisoned towards the end of the book. So now Guo Jing is searching for the ingredients to make an antidote for the poison. At the same time, Lotus Huang, another character that we have met towards the end of the first volume, she is fighting several people at the kind of banquet hall, I think, of the palace, causing some chaos there. And also Guo Jing and Lotus Huang want to free Mu Yi and Mercy Mu, who we also know from towards the end of the first part. We remember that in part 1, Wanyan Kang, who is the son of Ironheart Yang and who is meant to be Guo Jing's sworn brother, which the two don't really know anything of. He has a duel with Mercy Mu in the first part, which is called Duel for a Maiden, and Wanyan Kang wins this duel, and that means that he won Mercy Mu's hand in marriage. But anyway, Mercy Mu and Mu Yi, her father, they are imprisoned at the palace at the moment, and Guo Jing and Lotus Huang also want to free them. So towards the end of A Hero Born, there were 2 or 3 kind of WTF moments for me, and one of those moments was that we find out that Mu Yi is not actually Mercy Mu's father, which I didn't find too surprising or too shocking in a way, but we also find out that Mu Yi is actually Ironheart Yang. So Ironheart Yang survived the assassination in the first volume. He's actually alive and the father, of course, of Wanyan Kang, which Wanyan Kang also finds out at the end of the first volume. So he now kind of has to deal with the fact that the man who he thought was his father, Wanyan Hongli, is actually not his father, because that's Ironheart Yang. To make this part a bit less complicated, there is a lot of fighting going on at the palace. A lot goes wrong. But Ironheart Yang and his wife Charity reunite at the end of the first volume, and they flee from the palace at the beginning of the second volume. But because a lot of things go wrong, they both end up dying in the beginning of the second volume, which is quite dramatic, but also kind of nice that they can reunite, but also more dramatic because they reunite and then about 5 minutes later they die. So we are off to a good start here. And as his kind of dying wish, Ironheart Yang betroths Guo Jing to Mercy Mu. Now the funny thing is, number 1, Guo Jing is already betrothed to Ko Jin, the daughter of Genghis Khan, and B, Guo Jing is also in love with Lotus Huang. And C, kind of, Mercy Mu has also fallen in love with Wanyan Kang after their duel because she was so impressed by him. So yeah, we have quite the difficult situation here, and I would say that especially Guo Jing is kind of between a rock and a hard place. But eventually Lotus Huang and Guo Jing kind of run away for a bit, for a short time, because Lotus Huang gets very mad when Guo Jing's Shifus suggest that he should marry Mercy Mu, and they kind of don't appreciate of the fact that Guo Jing is in love with Lotus Huang. So they run away, and then they come back after a short time, but they find out that Guo Jing's Shifus have gone away from the place where they were, and they have disappeared, kind of. And then the book pretty much follows Guo Jing and Luo Zhuang on their adventures in the Song Empire. So they are now in the southern half, more or less, of China. And on their adventures, they meet a lot of people at a lot of places. And that's kind of all I'm gonna say about the plot part. Because if I would give you details, I think this might be very confusing, because as in the first book, a lot is happening here. We have a lot of action, a lot of people, a lot of discussions, and a lot of kung fu. So yeah, let's just say the book follows Guo Jing and Luo Zhuang on their journeys, and it's a lot of fun. So moving on, I did enjoy the first book a lot, and I would say that I enjoyed the second book at least as much as the first one, maybe even more. This one is also action-packed. There is so much going on, and I mean this in a good way. And the martial arts and the philosophy or philosophies behind the martial arts, they are everywhere in this book, which I think is so great, because I don't know, it kind of makes a round picture of everything that's happening and of the things that the characters are learning and how they are acting and everything. So I really loved how also the second volume is kind of enriched with the philosophy and the martial arts and how they are kind of connected with each other. So I loved this also about the second volume. I also especially loved the beginning of the second book, because we get the background story of Cyclone May and of Twice Foul Dark Wind, and connected with that also about the 9 Yin Manual, which plays a big role in this book. And what I like here is how the story hops back and forth between the past of Cyclone May and the present, which is the scene where she's fighting Guo Jing and kind of tries to strangle him, while she's also having the problem that she's in a lot of pain because she has misdirected her internal strength so that she cannot walk in the beginning. So yeah, I like how the story kind of blends those two situations together, and we as the readers get to know her background story while Guo Jing only gets the present bit. And that kind of gives the character a lot more depth, I think. And also on a more general note, I kind of like Cyclone May as an antagonist. And I am also really a fan of the fact that there are quite some very cool female characters in this series who are witty and who can kick some ass and who have great martial arts. This is one of the many, many things that I really love about this series so far. I also like how quite some dramatic developments are kind of starting to be built up, which I'm guessing will play more of a role in part 3 and also part 4. I really like how the more dramatic underlying things and conflicts are starting to be built up. For example, I'm guessing that the fact that Guo Jing is betrothed to several women, or well, that he is kind of betrothed to the daughter of Genghis Khan while he's in love with someone else, I'm guessing that this will create something of a problem later on, because I'm guessing that the Mongolian people are gonna play more of a role later on. And I'm guessing that mainly because I kind of want that to happen, because I really like the whole thing with Genghis Khan and his people in the first part. So I'm kind of hoping that this will return in the third part, or in the fourth part maybe. And I also love that we get a lot more background on the 5 greats. We remember the 5 greats are the 5 greatest masters of martial arts who had this 7-day and 7-night competition for the 9 Yin Manuals 20 years ago. I think it was 20 years prior to what we're reading now. And no spoilers there, but I like that we get a lot of background on some of the characters there, and that we get to meet some of the characters there. And I am also especially a fan of the fact that we get a lot more insight into Peach Blossom Island, which is mainly because I think that this is the best name in the book so far. It kind of triggers my idea of a great, fantastical martial arts place, a secluded island with a great name to it. This might not make too much sense, but also maybe you get what I mean. I just really like the name Peach Blossom Island because it triggers some imaginations in my head about that place. So I really love that we spent quite some time on the subject of Peach Blossom Island. No spoilers, but it's great. So yeah, those were pretty much the thoughts that I wanted to share with you today on A Bond Undone. I gotta say, I am really loving the series so far. I think it's great, and I cannot wait to read the next part, A Snake Lies Waiting, which I'm guessing will start to unravel some of the dramatic developments that are starting to be built up in the second volume. So yeah, we're gonna continue this martial arts journey. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and maybe I'll see you in the next one. Bye!